If you're clicking this, you're interested in one of the most revolutionary leaders out there, literally. Her name is Koala. Welcome to the revolution. We have plenty to cover, so make sure to get comfortable, sit back, and relax. I'll be going over everything you need to know about this leader. Koala is a unique leader specifically designed to punish popular strategies that rely on high-cost units and multi-summoning. She thrives as a life-ripping powerhouse against decks that play big 8-cost bodies or cheat characters onto the board through effects, systematically making opponents pay a life for every major play they attempt. Her entire kit is built to disrupt the normal flow of the game, forcing your opponent to regret their strategy from the very first turn and effectively making them pay for the privilege of playing their own deck. She has decent strength thanks to her colors, black and yellow, and she uses them to disrupt the opponent's entire game plan. For those who aren't familiar, let's break down the basics. Koala is a 4-life, black and yellow revolutionary army leader with a base attack of 5,000. Her effects are where things get spicy. Effect number 1. When this leader attacks your opponent's leader, if you have 2 or more characters with a cost of 8 or more, draw 1 card. Effect number 2. Once per turn. This effect can be activated when your opponent plays a character with a base cost of 8 or more, or when your opponent plays a character using a character's effect. Your opponent adds 1 card from the top of their life cards to their hand. Now that you know what Koala does, let's break it down.
1, 2, ha! Super! Hill!
Whoops, not that kind of break it down. My bad. Let's actually break it down. So let's talk about that first effect. This is the most important part of her kit, and it will determine how you play the entire game. By having just 2 characters with 8 cost or more, you get to draw a card every time you swing with your leader. That's insane value. The hard part? Establishing those 2 big bodies and making sure they don't get removed by battle or effects. Although she lacks Black's signature removal, you gain a ton from the new Revolutionary Army characters and their cost-modifying effects. This is the key to cheating out her requirement without spending a ton of Dawn. Let's use Hack as an example. Notice it says, if your leader has the Revolutionary Army type, this character gains blocker and +4 cost. Boom! A 4-cost card instantly becomes an 8-cost on your field. That's one of your 2 required characters right there, instantly. Characters like him are the backbone of this deck. Now, here's the catch, and this is a big one. These Revolutionary Army characters all have one thing in common. Very low attack power. So attacking with them early can be a huge risk. It can actually hold you back a whole turn from safely using Koala's draw effect. Let me explain why. Remember, the whole goal is to have 2 characters with 8 cost or more so you can swing with your leader and draw a free card. But if one of those key characters gets taken out in battle because of their low power, our whole game plan goes out the window, just like that. So you have to be mindful. Before you swing with a low power character like Hack or Karasu, you've got to ask yourself, is this attack worth potentially losing my engine? Do I have counter in hand to protect it? Or do I have another play to replace it if it's gone? These are all questions you should be asking when swinging with these characters. As long as you keep these 3 factors in mind, you'll be able to maximize Koala's effect and draw cards every single turn, burying your opponent in card advantage. Alright, let's talk about her second effect, the one that makes your opponent sweat. This is a once per turn effect that triggers when your opponent does one of 2 things. They play a character with a base cost of 8 or more. They play a character using a character's effect. When they do, they have to add the top card of their life to their hand. This punishes all the big meta plays. Your opponent drops a big 10-cost Doflamingo, they take a life. They play an 8-cost Mihawk on board, they take a life. They use that Luffy to cheat out a character for free, you guessed it, they take a life. Now, what keeps this leader balanced is that they add the life to their hand instead of trashing it. Don't get it twisted though. If this effect trashed the life, Koala would be absolutely toxic. But even adding it to hand is a huge deal. Those lives they're forced to take start to tally up in the late game. It accelerates them, yes, but it also puts them within striking range of your attacks much faster and prevents them from playing their big, flashy turns without getting punished for it. They have to think twice about everything they do. Now, in this segment, we're talking about the what and the when, the key cards that make her tick and how to pilot this deck turn by turn. Let's get into it. First up, let's talk about the black characters that are the absolute backbone of this strategy. The MVPs for this deck are Hack, Morley, Karasu, and Nico Robin. The thing these first three have in common, they have cost modifiers that make themselves higher cost while on the field. This is the secret sauce. They turn on Koala's draw effect without you having to spend a full 8 Dawn on a single character. Now, let's talk about Nico Robin separately because she's a powerhouse. She's important for 2 huge reasons. On summon, if your leader is Koala or Luffy, she gets a whopping +3 cost, jumping from 6 to 9. That's an instant enabler for your leader's effect. Her on-play effect, if your opponent has 5 or more cards in hand, she makes them discard 2 cards of their choice. This card would be absolutely toxic if it was random, but even with the choice, it shreds your opponent's options and hand advantage. But we have to give an honorable mention to the big boss himself, Dragon, or as I like to call him, Moria at home. This card is your late game tempo machine. For 8 Dawn, he lets you summon any 6 cost or lower character from your trash, as long as you're a revolutionary leader and you return 3 other revolutionary army cards from your discard pile to your deck. The hard part? Setting this up. If your trash is empty, he's just a vanilla 8 cost, but that's where other cards come in clutch. Thanks to cards like the 1 cost Koala and Captain's Assemble, we can mill our own deck and get that discard pile stocked and ready for a massive dragon turn. Now, let's shift to yellow. Our card pool here is smaller but incredibly powerful. The star of the yellow show is, without a doubt, the best dad in the OPTCG, Kuma. Kuma is your survival button. By discarding 1 card, you gain a life. This seems like a cost, but in this deck, it's a benefit. It helps you set up for Dragon, it keeps you alive longer, and it's an incredible play on 6 Dawn. You can even do the same thing with Nico Robin if you have her instead. So on your 6 Dawn turn, you often want to summon Kuma or Robin to discard a card and set up for Dragon. The other yellow revolutionary characters all have the ability to play themselves from your life if you and your opponent are equal at 5 life or less. The only one who doesn't is Sabo. So why run him? Because I love having cards like Baby 5 in my life, ready to trigger and let me draw 2 cards. Sabo and Baby 5 helps make that happen. Now that we know what the leader and the card pool do, let's talk about decklist. Here are 2 of my deck lists I've been running successfully. So you've got your deck built. How do you actually play it? Let's do a quick turn-by-turn breakdown. This is when going second. Turn 1. Your goal is simple. Play the 1 cost Koala for a body, or use Captain's Assemble to start filling your trash for Dragon. Turn 2. This is Hack turn. If you don't have him, Morley is your next best bet. Your mission is to get that first modified 8 cost on the board. Turn 3. This is a decision point. If you have 6 Dawn, you're looking to play Kuma or Robin to stabilize and set up your grave. If not, Karasu is a great play. If your opponent has a scary board, this is where 5 cost Nami comes in to clear the way. If you have none of these, split your Dawn between boosting your 1 cost and swinging with your leader. Turn 4. This is often your Dragon turn. If you have him and the setup, go for it, and bring back a character like Kuma or Robin. Depending on the matchup, sometimes bringing Hack is great against decks like Rayeigh, but Kuma can still be the better option due to the healing. Now, that's the ideal line when you're going second and have that extra Dawn advantage, but what about when you go first? The strategy shifts a little bit. Let's break that down. Turn 1. It's the same opener. Play your 1 cost Koala for a body on board, or use Captain's Assemble to start milling. Turn 2. This is where it changes. You only have 3 Dawn active. Your best move here is often to either play more one-cost events like Captain Assemble, if not summon another Koala. Another play, this is a great aggressive option. Split your Dawn. You can swing for 5,000 with your leader and another 5,000 with your one-drop Koala if you played her. You're applying early pressure which still counts for a turn. Turn 3. Now you're at 5 Dawn. This is where you can play Hack or Karazu to start building your board of fake 8-cost bodies. But here's a sneaky advantage of going first. You can also use your 5 Dawn to play a 5-cost Nami. Since your opponent is only on their 4 Dawn turn, this is the perfect time to clear any problematic 4-cost character they might have just played before it becomes a real threat. Turn 4. You hit 7 Dawn. This is your Kuma turn. Play him, and now you should have your board set up. With Hack or Karazu from last turn, plus Kuma's plus 2 cost effect, you should easily have 2 characters at 8 cost or more. So, swing with your other character, and then swing with your leader to draw a card. Turn 5. You've stabilized, you've drawn cards, and now you're at 9 Dawn. This is your Dragon turn. Go for the big play. Bring back a Kuma or a Robin from your trash, and completely take over the game. So the pacing is different, but the goal is the same. Build your board, control the pace, and then explode with your finishers. But here's a pro tip I learned the hard way. Don't get baited into always summoning Dragon late game. This is a common mistake. Sometimes using your 6 Dawn to play a Kuma from hand and keeping 3 Dawn up for a Black Vortex and hair removal fist is a million times better than overcommitting to a Dragon play that might not be necessary. Always assess the board state first. Alright, let's get into the matchups. With this deck, you almost always want to go second to hit your optimal curve of 4, then 6, then 8 Dawn plays. Alright, so we've established we want to go second. Now, let's break down the specific matchups you'll see on the ladder and how to approach them. First up, Yellow Enel. This is arguably our best matchup. Our entire strategy directly counters their game plan because Koala's leader effect turns off their primary win condition, healing. Here's how it works. Their goal is to heal repeatedly to stay alive, but Koala punishes them for it. When an Enel player uses a healing effect from a character like Yamato or Ace, that effect resolves first. They gain 1 life. But immediately after, Koala's leader effect activates. It sees that a character with a cost of 8 or more was played, forcing them to take a life as a card to hand instead of keeping the heal. So, even though the effect happened, they end up at the same life total they started with. For example, if the Enel player is at 0 life and heals with Ace or Yamato, they go to 1 life. Then Koala's effect kicks in, making them take that life as a card. They're right back to 0, wide open for us to finish the game on our next turn. The only exception is the 10 cost Enel, since its healing happens during the attack phase after the damage step. But outside of that 1 card, this matchup is completely in our favor. Against Red Rayeigh Matchup. Your key cards in this matchup are Hack and Kuma. Hack provides huge value as a blocker with a built-in KO effect. When he blocks, you can trade him into a rested character or the next attacker, which helps keep Raleigh's wide board in check and slows their momentum. Kuma's on-play heal is just as important, letting you recover from explosive turns and extend the game to the later stages where you thrive. Game plan. Focus on controlling their board while out-sustaining their aggression. Watch carefully for 4-cost Luffy, since that card can enable multi-summon turns. This is where your Koala Leader effect shines. Every time they flood the board, you punish them by forcing life loss. Once you stabilize and whittled their board down, you can safely pivot to offense and close the game. Against Blue-Purple Luffy, this matchup shouldn't be too difficult. Their strategy revolves around summoning high-cost characters, particularly their 9-cost finishers. This plays directly into our game plan, as Koala's leader effect punishes the opponent every time they play a character with 8 cost or higher. With Luffy being a 3-life leader, attempting to summon these big bodies becomes extremely risky for them. This risk is compounded by the fact that they lost their primary healing card, Limlin, which significantly reduces their ability to recover from our pressure. Your approach in this matchup should be aggressive. Apply constant pressure and avoid letting the game drag on too long. While we can punish their big plays, the matchup tends to shift in their favor if they're allowed to stabilize and execute their late game strategy. Focus on closing out the game before they can fully set up. Against Zoro, this matchup is challenging but far from unwinnable. The strategy requires patience and careful resource management. My primary advice is to be extremely cautious about committing characters to the board on your 4 or 5 Dawn turns. Zoro's strategy excels at resting and removing low power characters, so playing into that can quickly cost you the game. It's often better to hold those cards in hand for counter events during their turn, unless you need to play a crucial searcher. Your game plan should be to stall and prioritize landing your high impact, resilient threats. Focus on getting bodies like Kuma and your dragons onto the board, as they are much harder for Zoro to efficiently remove. Finally, finding a copy of Black Vortex is critical for dealing with their key threats and swinging the board in your favor. Against Blackbeard, this matchup can be challenging since his leader ability restricts our on-play effects. However, we have tools that help us stay in the game. Because many of our cards have ways to become 8 cost, Blackbeard can't easily remove our characters without committing significant resources, often wasting their entire turn. Your key cards in this matchup are Hack, who serves as a reliable blocker while being an 8 cost, and Karasu. Since Blackbeard tends to maintain a large hand size, Karasu punishes them by forcing a discard. When attacking with Karasu, aim for 7,000 power. This forces your opponent to choose between taking the hit or committing 2 cards from hand to block, on top of the card they already lose from Karasu's effect. The core strategy revolves around managing their leader ability. Try to end your turns with 2 Dawn available. This allows you to hold up Black Vortex to negate the leader before Blackbeard's leader effect can activate. Creating this small window can enable a successful Kuma or Dragon play on your following turn. Also, remember, if you happen to hit Black Vortex as a trigger from your life, you can choose their leader to negate the leader effect if they didn't use it for that turn. This will allow you to potentially go all in with a Dragon or Kuma play next turn without interference. Ultimately, this matchup heavily depends on finding and leveraging Black Vortex at the right moments to disrupt their tempo and create openings for your big plays. Against Blue Kuzan, this matchup plays out similarly to the Blue/Purple Luffy matchup. Their entire strategy is built around high-cost characters, particularly 8-drops. However, in my experience, once they see our leader as Koala, they often stop playing their 8 costs entirely and instead rely on 6 cost Kuzans or 7 cost Sakazukis. While these mid-range characters can be annoying to deal with, they're nowhere near as threatening as a big turn where they could drop multiple high cost bodies. This matchup becomes a race against time. Your goal is to apply consistent pressure and attack their life total directly. A key thing to remember, don't get overly distracted trading on their board. Many of their characters sit at 7,000 or 8,000 power, making them easy to counter or protect. Instead of getting bogged down in inefficient trades, focus on swinging at their life. Keep in mind they'll often be within range of your Nico Robin's hand disruption effect. Use this to your advantage. Keep pressuring their hand while you pressure their life total. The more you can force them to react to your aggression, the less they can execute their own game plan. This matchup against Green/Purple Luffy is definitely an uphill battle for us. Since their deck typically doesn't run any base 8 cost characters, our primary strategy of punishing high cost plays is completely negated. The only time our leader's effect will trigger is if they use a card like Luffy Taro to bring out a character through an effect. In this scenario, your entire game plan must shift towards board control and survival. Prioritize healing with Kuma to extend the game, and use Nami to clear key threats like Sanji/Pudding or a 4-cost Zoro Juro, provided they don't have a stage card protecting them. Your main focus should be on managing their board first. Only go for their life once you've successfully cleared their field. The goal is to drag the game out with constant healing, avoid rushing their life total, and win through superior resource management and late game pressure once their threats are answered. Alright, let's talk about one of our trickiest matchups, Yellow Kid. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, the odds are not in our favor here. They have the same major advantage as Green/Purple Luffy. They can simply choose not to play any 8 cost characters, completely shutting down our main punishing strategy. Their entire game plan revolves around one card, the 7-cost Law. This is their primary source of healing, and thanks to Kid's leader effect, they can spam it to constantly create new blockers. And let's be real, with 9,000 base power, Law is an absolute nightmare to remove from the board. So, how do we fight back? The name of the game is patience. Do not fall into the trap of swinging recklessly into their life. Here's why. They can only make a character a blocker if they have a life card to flip up. If you stop feeding them attacks, you starve them of this resource. No attacks mean no flipped lives, which means no new blockers. Your focus should be on waiting, building, and expanding your board. Your main goal is to hold back, let them make the first move, and wait for their characters to turn sideways. That's your window. That's when you go all in on removing their key pieces. This is a standoff, a game of who blinks first. So be patient, play smart, and strike when the time is right. All right, let's break down the Shanks matchup. This one is tricky, to say the least. Red Shanks has all the right tools to systematically dismantle our board. With cards like Lucky Roo and Mole Pistol, they can easily snipe our low-power Revolutionary Army characters, completely bypassing our cost modifiers by targeting base power. And it gets worse. Ben Beckman lets them trash our key pieces right off the field, making our crucial Kuma a prime target. That directly attacks our survivability since we rely heavily on Kuma's on-KO effect to stay in the game. So, how do we fight back? Hack becomes your MVP. Thanks to his on-KO effect, they can't easily remove him without losing a 4-cost themselves, which really disrupts their tempo. It won't shut them down completely, but it slows them down. Here's where we turn the tables. Our leader ability finally comes online. Their entire game plan revolves around dropping massive bodies like the 10-cost Shanks. When they do, punish them. Make them take a life. This matchup is tough because of their precision removal. Your best chance? Be the aggressor. Pressure their life total early and often. Don't let them comfortably build toward their big 10-cost finisher. Keep the heat on, force them to play at low life, and make every big summon a costly decision. All right, let's talk about the Green Bonnie matchup. And yeah, it's a weird one. On paper, we should be able to punish them when they summon 8-cost bodies like Kid or Mihawk, but the problem is, they can easily target our biggest weakness, our character's low attack power. Remember what I said at the very beginning? Almost our entire Revolutionary Army roster has low base power, and Bonnie's ability to rest a character lets her hunt them down one by one. So we need to play extra smart here. Only bring out characters like Hack when you know he can trade favorably, or force your opponent into an awkward position after his on-KO effect. Kuma can still be helpful for gaining life, but be careful. He can easily be frozen by 5-cost Carrot the turn after he loses his +2 cost bonus, shutting down his defensive value. Your real key cards in this matchup are Nico Robin and Karasu. Go after their hand, strip away their options, and make every play difficult for them. And yes, when they finally commit to an 8-cost like Kid or Mihawk, make sure you punish them with Koala's effect. This won't be a pretty or easy matchup. Focus on building a wide board, and always try to hold 5-cost Nami in your hand. She's essential for clearing problematic bodies like Carrot and Cavendish before they take over the game. It's a grind, but with careful timing and smart trades, you can outlast them. And that's the basic game plan. Now, I want to hear from you. Try out either build and let me know what you think. Drop your questions down in the comments below. What's your biggest struggle with Koala? I'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions so we can help each other and build up the community. Thanks for watching, Revolutionaries. Until next time, have an awesome day or night. Peace.